Our next guest here on Kansas City Live is a New York Times best-selling author and whose work has been praised from everyone from President George H.W. Bush to People magazine. We'd like to welcome Brad Meltzer, whose new thriller, The Fifth Assassin, is hitting bookstores. Brad, the plot of this book sounds intriguing. What is the premise?
Yeah, you know, a few years ago, one of my readers came to me and said, I work at a museum in Washington, D.C. that almost nobody knows about, and you got to see what we have here. And I said, just tell me what you have. And he said, we have the pieces of Abraham Lincoln's skull, we have the bones of John Wilkes Booth, and we have the actual bullet that killed Abraham Lincoln. Would you like to come see it? I was like, yes, I want to come see that. And I went there. They didn't just have the artifacts for the Lincoln assassination, but they have things from the other assassinations as well. And I started thinking, what if that's the plot for my next thriller? What if you have a serial killer who's meticulously recreating the crimes of all the presidential assassins from John Wilkes Booth to Lee Harvey Oswald? To him, they're not four lone wolves who are working separately. They're actually all working together over the course of a century for the same secret cause. And now this killer wants to be the fifth assassin.
I was going to say, you didn't just sit down and write this book. You did your homework. How much historical research did you do?
Yeah, you know, anyone who watches me on Decoded on the History Channel knows I love my research. And so you'll see things like what the assassins had in common. And you'll see things like all of them are meticulously, oddly neat. They don't do drugs. They barely drink. They're not known as troublemakers, of course, until that moment when they pull the trigger. But here's one of the most fascinating details about assassins. They divide into two categories: Howlers and Hunters. Howlers make a lot of noise. They call them bomb threats, and they try to scare us. But the good news is they rarely take action. Hunters, though, are very different. Hunters plan, and they plot, and they execute. Hunters have no interest, though, in howling, and howlers have no interest in hunting. And when you look at the four assassins from John Wilkes Booth to Lee Harvey Oswald, all four of them are hunters. So as you're reading the book and as you're going through it, it's a mystery, it's a thriller, but you're going through and you're going, my gosh, these parts are real.
And you're particularly fascinated with presidential history. Why all the interest?
You know what? It's the White House. And, you know, as you said when we first introduced me, former Presidents Clinton and Bush have written me letters about my books. In fact, for this novel, former President George H.W. Bush, the dad, was helpful to me in answering questions about the book. And I got to ask him, you know, what is it like to live in the White House when you know someone's out there trying to kill you? And that's, you know, one of those moments. I can make up whatever I want, but you get real insight into what it really means to be a president. And then you get to also see things that I love in there. You get to see Camp David, and we all know Camp David is this, you know, place where they sign the peace accords. But I didn't know what Camp David, what really goes on there. It's really like a president's playground. I mean, they can do skeet shooting, they can play, they can go swimming, they can bowl. But I also found the secret tunnels that are below Camp David. And I've done the secret tunnels below the White House. I've even done the ones below Disney World, which were hard to get into, but none of them were as hard as Camp David. And I won't ruin where they come out, but you'll see they run below Camp David. And I don't want to ruin Chapter 97 of The Fifth Assassin, but where they come out in Chapter 97, that's where they are in real life.
And I always ask, since I'm a writer too, what's your favorite time of the day to write? I always do my best work early in the morning before anybody says a word to me.
Oh, I can't do anything in the morning. I'm all about the night. The truth is, though, I will write much better at night, but I have kids, and I want to be a good dad, so I just have to write during the day. I have no choice. But once the kids come home from school, that's the worst time of the day for me to write because they all come in there. And, of course, I'm on the phone with, like, a Secret Service agent going, yes, you know, I want to know, you know, about how this gun works or this bomb explodes or, you know, how this secret place in the White House exists. And my kids just think that's what every dad does, that every dad tries to find secret places inside the White House.
Best dad ever. Brad, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and best of luck with the new book. Let's check in with Michelle, who has details on an upcoming fashion fundraiser.